I found my old notes and I wanted to make some comments about the part where you bathe the holy beings and you use the mantra. I wanted to point out there's a part in the mantra called Abhishekata, right? And it means I bathe you. But Abhisheka has a different meaning also, and I thought you should know. What is that meaning, Abhisheka? It's the Sanskrit word for an empowerment, a secret empowerment, okay? And it means like baptismal pouring of water over your head or things like that, okay? It's like that. Then I told you I had some comments on the mantra for drying them off with a towel, which is verse 58. And I really worked hard on that mantra and I wanted to talk about it, with you, okay? What was the mantra? Om Hum Cham Shi. Say Om Hum Cham Shi. And then Akaya Vishuddhane Swaha, which means I dry you off. But the first, why do they use these strange, they're called seed syllables, bija, sabin, and it means single Sanskrit syllables of great power. And so there are 4 of them here, Om Hum Cham Shi. And I wanted you to know what they mean, and I wanted to talk about them, okay? So, there's a text in the database which explains them. There should be 5, okay? There should be 5 syllables. There should be an ah between the Om and the Hum, okay? So I don't suggest changing the Georgia, and I checked the carving, and it doesn't have an ah, but I think it should have an ah. Okay, so that's just something. I think the carving was mistaken a long time ago, and I think it's mispronounced. I believe it should be Om Ah Hum Cham Shi. Okay. Why? These are called Kusuki Sokshin. These are Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, and Shri. How many syllables? Yeah, these are 5 holy syllables, like power syllables. And then they're called Kusuki Sokshin. Sokshin means is that a beam or an air conditioning unit? I don't know. Yeah, it's a beam. Okay, that's called a Sokshin. That beam. And so Mark is good at Sokshin. He's in the Sokshin business. Structural steel. So this is structural steel. In Tibet, in Tibetan architecture, which is kind of simple, there's one beam that goes across the house and holds up both sides of the roof, and that's called a sokshin. So it's like, sok means what? Surok. It means life, right? Ayur in Ayurveda, sok, okay? And then shing means tree or piece of wood, okay? So sokshin means that beam, the beam that goes through the house and holds up the whole roof. And in Tibetan, that's an idiom. Start dictionary entry. Sokshin. Okay. S-R-O-G-S-H-I-N-G. In Tibetan spelling, Sarata Sanana Soga Sok, Shagikushina Shin. Sokshin. Then this is an idiom. And Sok means life, life power, as opposed to lifetime, which has a different word in Tibetan but not in English. So we say, how old are you? How long have you lived? That we call that life. And we call life the power within a being, like the life in plants and the life in trees. But in Tibetan, there are 2 separate words. The word for lifetime is tse, T-S-E, tse, okay? Like Tsering means long life. He's the main character in Hari Reward, okay? Because that was the name of Rinpoche's dog. And then Sok, as opposed to Tse, means how long you live. Like Tse Chok means, or Tse Boom means a long life ritual. You see? Tse. But Sok means the power of life within your body. Okay? That intangible thing called life within your body. Okay? So Sokshin means the beam of the house which supports the whole thing. It's like your spinal column or something. Without that, you would die. Okay? And without the Sokshin, the house would fall down. It means something like what? What would you say? Like it's absolutely crucial part of the roof. Crucial beam. But how do you say the one crucial beam? Linchpin. Who said that? That's damn good. Okay, linchpin means the most important single part that keeps the whole thing running. It's called Sokshin, okay? So in the Yoga Sutra, what is it? Oriti. Dhruva. Say Dhruva. Yeah? Dhruva means your central channel. Zhongmai. Right? The main channel that goes up to the body is called Sokshin. It's sometimes called Sokshin. This is the critical linchpin of your whole body. Okay? The linchpin of your inner body. They call it Sushumna, or Uma, the central channel. Okay, is called Dhruva. So this is the meaning. These are all the connotations of Sokshin. Okay, and well, let's not end dictionary entry yet. So these 5 syllables are called Kusuki Sokshin. They're called the linchpin of the holy body. Okay, and they are sacred points that are like the axis of the body. You can say axis also. They are the axis of the body. Okay. So here we go. I think you can end the dictionary. These are 5 points along the axis of the body, the crucial axis of the body. Okay. Om. Where do you guess Om is? Well, here. By the way, normally when you locate mantras in the body, the word in Tibetan for the first one is Chiwo, which means top of the head here. The center of the Sahasrara chakra is here. But sometimes in scriptures when they say here, they mean here. So you have to have a lama to tell you it's not the top of your head in this instance, it's the front of your forehead. It's not the top of your head in this instance, it's the front of your forehead. But the word in Tibetan is top of your head. Okay? Partly because you can't see this one when you're looking at something. Okay, so they'll put it here. So these are pretty much get mixed up sometimes in scripture. Okay? The first mantra, the first syllable's here. And what is it? Okay, good. Then there's a syllable here. By the way, this one's white usually. Okay? And that's why we're doing the jewel thing. Right? This one is okay, and it's in the Kong Kong. We call Kong Kong. This is called Kong Kong. Kong Kong means a depression or an indentation. This Kong Kong here. And it's deep inside towards the spine. Okay. Right? And that's a red color. And then Hung. Where's Hung? Yeah, at the heart. A blue color. Behind the heart. Okay. Hung. Blue color. Hung. Then they relate to the way that holy beings act. Okay, so that's a little difficult for us because we think the head is the locus of the thinking or the brain. But in Buddhism, in Asia, it's believed that the mind is located at the heart. Okay, Shin is here, the mind. So the Hung is the mental process of a holy being. The is the speech. That's easy. But just remember that the physical actions of a holy being are here. They're represented here with a white Om. So Om, Hung. That's why I believe a syllable is missing, even in the carving. And maybe we can find an older carving. But there should be 5 syllables. The is missing. But I didn't add it because I didn't want to mess with it. Okay? So sometimes we do that. We don't mess with scripture. We just say, I think it's wrong. Okay. Om, Hung. And then we have Cham. Cham is at the Tewa. What's the Tewa? The navel. Okay? Yeah, the navel chakra behind. So we have a nice Sokshin going. See? We have a nice axis going. And when you line up the 3 jewels, try to line them up on a stick. You see? Om is in the forehead. Is in the throat. And that means Hung has to be pretty far back behind the heart. Okay? Don't paste them on the front of your body. That's fine. Okay? Om Hung. So we have Chang and then Shri. 3 is located at the Sangne. Say Sangne. Sang means secret, name means place. Secret place means your dinger or your... Anyway, sexual organ is called Sangne. Okay. Where the chakra is, there is a debate. Okay. But you can think of it either at the end of the sexual organ, in either case. Or you can think of it deeper, like Muladhara chakra or something. Anyway, these are the 5 these are the 5 places. By the way, the text that I use is S0110, so if you ever care to look at it, it's very rare and very beautiful and very secret. So those are where these mantras go. Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, Shi. Okay? Those are the mantras in the... What are we on? What verse are we on? Yeah. No, I mean, what's going on here? We're drying them off. Okay? So, if you use that mantra, in theory, you would take the towel, wrap it on your hand, like this, okay? And then you pat those 5 places, and then you have dried them. Because they don't need drying off. It's not like you have to do their toes and stuff. You know? So it traditionally, in this practice, you would make a mudra. What's a mudra? It's a hand sign, right? Like Om, Ah, Hum, Cham. Then you would go like this. You could even use a piece of cloth, and you could go Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, Shi. Okay? And they're dry. Okay? You don't have to go like this. Okay? Okay. Now, in the Lam Rim, when Paboko Rinpoche gets to the drying, he changes it slightly. Okay? And, so you should know. He says, so he clarifies the word chiwo, which normally means here, but he says chel. This is chelwa, okay? The front of the forehead. Okay? Chelwa, jimba, chel, jin, tuka, pungo ni. Pung means your shoulders. Go means what do you call this? This part of the shoulder. Maybe we don't have a separate name for it. Rotator cuff. This part here. The pungo ni che. So he says, do their forehead, do their throat, do their heart, and then do their 2 shoulders like that. So you would go like this. Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, Shi. Which is kind of cool for the... if you care about that stuff. It's all connected somewhere. Nengala Rekpe. When you touch those 5 places, Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, Shi, okay? Then Len Tam Je Kui Nenga Dute. All the wetness on their body collects just before you touch it. All the water on their body goes, and then you just have to dry those 5 places. Okay, got it? Like the water all goes, and then you don't have to dry their legs and stuff. Okay. Now do they dak chiwa yin, and then you can dry that off. Rang ki chu che patar, gojuk tamche to chiwa. To towel yourself off from head to toe, the way human beings do it, dinda migu. You don't need to do that. They don't need that. They'll get themselves ready. Then you just go. Okay? And you're done. Okay? So, Om, Ah, Hum, Cham, Shi. So, to get 5 places, you gotta add the Ah anyway. So I think we should add the Ah. Okay? And, but anyway. If you just go Om, Hum, Cham, Shi, you get the same thing. You don't, maybe the center is assumed. Om, Hum, Cham, Shi. Then you get the Ah anyway. Okay. Anyway, I thought it was cool. So that finishes the mantra. And I looked at the wood block, and the wood block is missing the Ah, but that's a recent wood block, so I don't know. Okay. Other notes. How long do we go for this class? To 11? Okay. We have a little, do you mind no PP? Like 20 more minutes? Okay. I made some notes to myself about the expression Yenlak Dun. What's Yenlak Dun? The 7 limbs or the 7 parts of the prayer, which is technically what you do just before you do your meditation. I'm talking now, I'm at verse 62. Okay, and part 63. Okay. And there were some comments about the idea of Yen Lak Dun, and I thought it would be good to talk about them again. There was a famous early Tibetan Lama named Geshe Dilpa, 1,000 years ago, and he made the following statement about the 7-part practice. He said, if you do this brief practice of collecting good karma and removing bad, things that you never dreamed of happening in 100 years will come. Okay? So he says, don't think of it as something not too important. Don't think of it as something extra. He says it's extremely important. You can have meditation experiences that you couldn't get in 100 years. If you even just do the 7 steps briefly. Okay? Then I thought, those of you who've studied Vajrayogini practice at Diamond Mountain, that's a 7-year course. There's a very famous verse in the sadhana, and I'm gonna just read it, okay? Kojo sunna da kyapchi dipa tamni sosho sha doege na jiran sange chani yikisun sange choron sachola chandu pari da kyapchi roshan tuni la tuchu chandu sani kepagi chandu choki sani kegini simchan tamchi daki duni chandu chuchu niyo chepagi dola pinti sange dipa. This is a very famous verse in the Vajrayogini practice. And it's the tantric version of the 7. Okay? There's a tantric version of the 7 steps. So, what I'm trying to say is it's not unimportant. They considered it important enough to put it into the Vajrayogini Tantra. Okay? The same 7, but slightly different. Okay? But I can't teach you that till later. Okay? They are the same 7 steps. So if they put them in the most important Tantra, it must be an important practice to do this meditation song before you meditate. Okay? And I'll teach you that someday when you get to Tantra. Okay? Alright. There was a cool thing. There's a part in one of the texts that says, how do you go up between bodhisattva levels? How do you get promoted between bodhisattva levels? But what's different at the different bodhisattva levels? Yeah, you master different perfections. Like, we just finished the 3rd one, so your patience was better. Okay. Then there's an interesting comment. They say, there's another benefit to moving up to the bodhisattva levels is that each time you go up in a bodhisattva level, you have 100 more bodies, 100 times more bodies to emanate. Okay? You can emanate 100 times more bodies. And like, do the bathing practice and do the prostrations and things like that. The higher bodhisattva you are, the more bodies you can emanate. Avatars? To make these offerings. Then he says, don't forget that, I like this comment, the function of the 7 limbs is to make good karma and clean out bad karma just before you meditate, right? Then, I don't know if you remember, this is kind of a review of the last year, okay? We went through those 7. And he said it functions to ripen and pop your bad deeds like a blister. I don't know. Whenever I got a blister when I was a kid, my mom said, don't pop it. Let it, what do you call it? Fester, in Tibetan they say nimba, let it ripen. And then when it got big and puffy, then your mom would give you a needle. My dad was in the Navy. He did medical stuff. He would always, what do you call it? Sterilize the needle. He'd put it on the candle and then he'd pop the blister. So the process of doing these 7 steps makes the blister get soft. It ripens the blister of what? Your bad karmas, your old bad karmas. Then you can pop it. Okay. I like that. With the good karmas, it makes them ripen on the, like, what do you call it? Vine-ripened tomatoes? Okay, like they're much better, right? You leave them on the vine and then they get more and more ripe. And then just before they're ready to fall off, you cut them off with the vine, right? So with your good karmas, what do you call it? It ripens them like fruit on a tree. This will make your good karmas get very luscious and, what do you call it? Ready to eat. Juicy. It makes your good karmas juicy. And it makes your bad karmas ready to pop. Okay? That's the selling point for the 7 practice. Sokso mena lenne sabendra. And then they say if you skip the 7 steps before you meditate, it's like planting like a watermelon seed, 西瓜种子, and not putting any water on it. Then things won't happen. Then sometimes, I don't know, those of you who have been in my class for a while, like Rob Haggerty, do you mind if I tell how you came to the first class? I mean, he's walking down the street in New York and saw a cute girl and followed her into our center. So who she was, we don't know. Who she really was, we don't know. That happened to James Conner also. He saw a cute girl with a book on the subway, and it was the Diamond Cutter, the old one with the red cover and the mandala on it. And then, I don't know, he got attracted to the girl or the book, I don't know. But he went to the bookstore and looked through the whole bookstore to find the book, just from the cover, just from the picture on the cover, you know. And that's how he got it. So it's always a girl. Okay. Yenla dun shepa pena. So I often say that, I have said in my classes, a lot of the things I say in my classes are coming from this book, this Lamrim, because I was fed this Lamrim for 30 years. You know? Every week, a couple times a week, I was fed this Lamrim. So a lot of the things I say come from that Lamrim. Then there's an idea in Buddhism that there are certain essential personality changes that have to take place in you. Your heart has to change in a certain number of ways. Your personality has to be adjusted in like 30 different ways. Or you cannot get enlightened. It's not possible. So there's an idea that your spirit is like a car engine, you know. So I always tell people about this Volkswagen. Rinpoche had a Volkswagen with 300,000 miles on it. 280,000 miles. And then it kept breaking, and then we used to take it to this Russian mechanic who would cheat us, and he didn't know I knew Russian. And he would talk to his friend and say, let's cheat him on this, you know, and I'd be like, yeah, the Ochin Hada, you know. Anyway, then finally Rinpoche said, you learn to fix it. And I'm like, Rinpoche, I don't know anything about cars. You're American. Cars were invented in America. You know, you should fix it, you know. And I'm like, okay. So I remember I took his Volkswagen apart one day because it was broken in Bochito, right? And when I finished, I was like, I did it, you know, I put it back together. And then I noticed this big bolt is on the ground, you know, and I'm like, I wonder if it needs that bolt, you know. And I wonder where it came from, and probably somewhere inside the engine, and I wonder if I should, you know, do anything about it. And then I realized, you know, the car companies don't spend money if they don't have to. If there's a bolt in the engine, you need it, you know. And Buddhism is the same, okay? In your spiritual career, in your journey along the path, there are certain indispensable elements without which it will not run, okay? The car will not run. That's why you need a teacher who knows all those elements, okay? You can't just have a teacher who understands compassion, or a teacher who just understands meditation, or a teacher who just understands emptiness. They have to know the whole shtick, because all of those pieces are indispensable. You can't leave one out and expect to get enlightened. It won't happen. It won't work, okay? So, I've taught that from time to time over the last X years, but here's where it comes from, okay? It comes from this subject, this verse 63, okay? And in the commentary to that verse, they say, Yenlak dun shepa perna. Why do they talk about 7 parts to the practice? Chuki yenlak dun dang dembe shingta. De yenlak chigma tsangwa. If you have he says a carriage, right? Because they didn't have cars. Okay, the cars came a little after Pabon Rinpoche. The first car didn't reach Tibet until I think 1950 or something like that. So, or something like that. So he says, when you have a carriage, Shingta Yenla Chigma Tsamani, if you leave out one part of the carriage, Mindro, it ain't gonna work. It won't go anywhere. Okay, and he's talking about these 7 steps. Don't leave one out. Do all 7. Okay? Chaksa Welshin, Churchi, Shapanda, Jason, like that. These are the necessary steps. Okay? All 7 are necessary if you expect to have a good meditation. Okay? Otherwise it won't work. Diryang yen lachik matsangda sakjang nedu mindoa yin. Nedu mindoa. You won't hit the net. Yeah, it's not gonna work. There'll be some crucial thing missing. Okay? Nedu mindoa. Alright. Then he starts the prostration, which we did yesterday. We got into the prostration. We didn't finish it. I have some more notes about the prostration. We probably won't finish the prostration. We'll have to keep prostrating till next time we meet, okay? By the way, Tibetans do it as exercise. My Lama did it his whole life. He did I don't know. It's hard to do more than 20 full prostrations. So they have a special board and they have hand gloves and they slide on this board. It's like what the ballet teacher did to us the other day. Very unpleasant. Okay. Then there's a footnote in this practice that I thought, I'm just taking out sexy stuff for you. It said, you are not restricted in this, when you hit this part in the meditation song, which is verse 64, you don't have to think you are restricted to your current body. You don't have to think you are restricted to your current body. You can use all the bodies you've ever worn before. Okay? Which is countless bodies. Okay? You've had every kind of body. You've been president of the United States countless times. And it was called the United States. It was on a different planet, but it's okay. And every guy here has been Miss America countless times. Okay? Okay? So you have any body you want is at your disposal. Okay? I've been Arnold Schwarzenegger countless times. I can have any kind of body. You can have any kind of body. You can put on different bodies and do the prostration. Then tomorrow you can put on a different body and do it in your mind, right? In your imagination. Try out different bodies. Like, how does an octopus prostrate? I don't know. But you can do it. You can try all kinds, okay? Alright? It's cool. I think it's cool. What's it called? Terminators? What do you call it? Transformer. You can be that big Transformer guy and do a prostration. You can be Mr. Lego. And who's that guy? Anyway, you understand. You can be anyone you want because you have been. You have rights to that body. It was copyrighted in the. Okay. Alright. Then we got down. I did look up Dombipa to see if there was any easy story to tell you about him, but I didn't find any easy story, so next time. Okay. There is a sexy story. I can't find it, but I'll keep trying. We got down to verse 67 in the prostration, and it said, realize Father and Son at the end of which lineage? Yeah, emptiness lineage. And then I said I wasn't sure which Father and Son. It could be Tsongkhapa and his 2 main disciples. But I looked it up, and Nick helped me also. The poster, the ancient carving of the lineage tree, in this place is Lord Atisha and Dromtonje. So that's the Father and Son. Okay. In this case. And I checked it in some texts. So it's Lord Atisha and Dromtonje. Which is kind of interesting because they're the next ones. The next verse also starts with them. You see? So it kind of ties together. Then he goes into the Kadampa Lamas. Okay. So Kadampas are the early Tibetan Lamas, right? We're on verse 68. And the Kadampas were the first Buddhists of our tradition in Tibet. There were earlier Buddhists, but they were sort of hit and miss. Like, there's a tradition that a book fell out of the sky in 800 AD, 200 years before the Kadampas, and landed in the Tibetan king's hands. And he couldn't read it, and he didn't know what it was. But he put it in a temple, and they used to prostrate to it, and, I don't know how it got there. Maybe it fell out of a plane or something. So there was some Buddhism in Tibet before the Kadampas. But for our lineage, the Kadampas are a big deal. Okay. So Lord Atisha came, as we talked about in detail, right? He came from India, started teaching in Tibet, and then the first Tibetan student was Dromtonje. He's remarkable because he was a lay person. So really the Tibetan lineages begin with family people. Okay? And the early, as I said, the early Dharma centers were founded by family people long before monasteries started in Tibet. So monasteries came later, and this big concentration of power and wealth in monasteries came later. And then that created a problem in Tibet. So I think we should learn from that also. Kadamba. Then in this verse he mentions the 4 high practitioners. In Tibetan it's called Nyangjo Nambashi. What's Nyangjo? Yogi. Here. Yogi. Okay, Nyangjo Pa. Yogi Nambashi. Shi. The 4 yogis. And then he calls the 3 close brothers. So I'm just going to give you their names because I want it to be complete, right? I want you to know everything. So when you teach it, you can do so responsibly. So one of your students is going to ask you, who's the 4 yogis? And you're going to say, I don't know. I didn't take notes that day. It was a smaller room. Something like that. Nyangjo Nambashi. So I'm quoting from another Lamrim text. Nyangjo Nambashi ni Nyangjo pa Ame Chanchu Rinchen. So the first one's name is Ame Chanchu Rinchen. Ame Chanchu Rinchen. He's been quoted earlier in our text. I don't remember for what, and I'm not going to look it up right now. So I'll tell you next time. Ame Chanchu Rinchen. These are all Kadampas. These are all 1,000 years ago. These are early Geshes. The second one is Gunpawa. Gunpawa. Then his name was Wangchu Gyaltsen. His monk's name was Wangchu Gyaltsen. Gunpawa means guy who hangs out in the monastery. Okay. But we call him Gunpawa. Third one is Shirab Dorje, Wisdom Diamond. Shirab Dorje. And the last one is Chakdar Tumba Jambe Lodra. You can say Jambe Lodra. Chakdar Tumba means he was the teacher from a place called Chakdar. Okay. But those are the 4 yogis. Okay. You should just know their names. I'll repeat their names. First one is Ame Chanchu Rinchen. Ame Chanchu Rinchen. The second one is Gunpawa, Wangchu Gyaltsen. The third one is Shirab Dorje. And the fourth one is Chakdar Tumba Jambe Lodra. Then there's a footnote, okay? Do you care? I don't care. I care. So, you have to sit here anyway. There was a tradition that misnamed the third one, okay? So you might see the third one called something else in a text, and it's considered a mistake. So, just so you know. There was a famous, Lama called Lok Lekpa Shirab. Lok Lekpa Shirab. And then some people confused him with Shirab Dorje. And they're not the same person. Okay. Shirab Dorje is considered the correct one. Alright, the 3, what do we have? 3 close brothers. Sorry. Might be the flowers, I don't know. Okay. But that's okay, I still like them. Potawa is the first one. Potawa. These are all early Geshes, 1,000 years ago. Potawa. Second one is Puchungwa. And the third one is called Chengawa. They are called the brothers because they were the main disciples of Dromtunche. Okay? They took over after Dromtunche. After that lay person, these 3, and they were sort of like 3 Dharma brothers. They got along very well and they helped spread Dromtunche's teachings. If you care, Potoa was considered the main one. And the other 2 were considered his little brothers. So when we trace the lineage, we often say, who is Lord Atisha's teacher? Serlingpa, Suvarnadvipa, Guru. And then it goes to Lord Atisha, and then it goes to Dromtunche, and then it goes to the 3 brothers, and namely Potoa. Okay? You should know, we believe you should know your lineage, okay? We don't believe you should get up in the yoga class and say, I heard this in a book somewhere. Okay? You should say, this is my lineage. This is, I can tell you the 23 teachers back to Atisha. And it's authentic. I didn't make it up. This is an ancient tradition which has worked for many people. And I didn't mess with it. It's what do you call it? Authentic. It's pure. And I can name the teachers all the way back. Okay? Like that, you can name them. You can learn them. Okay. We say their names once every 2 weeks for good luck. Okay. We recite their names every 2 weeks just to remember. Oh, because it's authentic and because they were kind to take good notes on Camelback Avenue on March 16th, 2000. You know what I mean? To remember how hard they worked to video everything and edit the video carefully on their new computer. And, you know, it's to remember the kindness that they took the trouble to pass it on correctly. They took the trouble to learn it well and to pass it on correctly. And then, you know, obviously it's my hope that you become the next lineage holder, okay? And lineages split at that point. You know, they'll say, I'm Rebecca's lineage. You know, they'll say, to the yogini who flies in the sky, smashing all cars around her. You know, I mean, her lineage will go down a different, family, what do you call it, branch, right? And then Andrew and Anatole, who created the nectar of immortality from raw chocolate nibs, you know, and, you know, there will be, verses. There will be verses, okay? Alright? And there will be stories and they'll be exaggerated, okay? About each of us. Okay. I'm going to teach you one last verse because it's good. Is it 11 o'clock that we're supposed to start? Okay. But I'll give you one last verse because it's very auspicious. Okay. The next verse, 69. Kangzhen Shinde Soje. Say Kangzhen. You can see the pronunciation, right? Kangzhen Shinde Soje Songkapa. Ngotop Rikpe Wangchu Gyaltsabje. Hands at your chest. Donga Tembe Tapo Keruje. Yavse Yupa Chela Chaksela. Okay, very, 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 very famous verse. Okay? It's also the best grace you can do. And this was Rinpoche's favorite grace before food, before eating food. So if you want a grace to do, I think it's graceful to do a grace. Okay? I think it's elegant. Instead of just grabbing food and stuffing it in your mouth, it's just elegant to pause. Like in a restaurant, you pause, you think about the food, you offer it, and then you eat with gusto. You know? Lama Supa loves to do graces. I heard he can go on for an hour and a half on the grace. I heard he took a long plane flight. They offered him a meal. He started grace. And then they said, like an hour and a half later, they're like, we're landing now. We have to take the food. And he hadn't started eating yet. He's still doing his grace, you know, and they took the food. He never ate the food. He said I got the essence out of it. I got the most important thing out of the food, which is I offered it. I didn't get to eat it. So this is a very famous grace, except you have to change the last line. Okay, so I'll help you on that. But here we go. Let's go through the meaning of it, and then we'll stop and start to prepare our offerings. Okay? Kangzhen, this Kang is spelled with an extra S, although those of you who care. Start dictionary entry. Kang means what, where, who, or when. Kang is an interrogative particle. But when you add an S to it, Kang, G-A-N-G-S, it changes meaning to snow. It becomes the word for snow. And in Tibet, there's two main words for snow. One is kawa, and one is kang. Okay? So kawa and kang are synonyms. So what we have here is kang. The most famous use of the word kang is in Kangzhen, which means having snow, or snowy. And it's a reference to Tibet. It's a nickname for Tibet. They're called Kangzhen, means Tibetan, or snow mountainy, Himalaya. Okay? In Sanskrit, it's Himalaya. Stop dictionary. So Kangzhen means in the land of snows. Xing Da mean, what's Xing mean and what's Da mean? Xing means wood or tree, Virksha, right? And Da means horse. Xing Da means wooden horse, which is the Tibetan word for a cart. You know, a cart, coach is called a coach with the horses, right? It's called a Xing Da. Sul means system. Okay? Sarata Sanara Salaso. J with the prenasal means to open. We had J as to divide or to make categories. And here it means to divide the wall with a door. You see what I mean? When you open a door, you split the wall. You see, it's a cool word, J. So Sul J means to start a new system, to introduce a new system. Xingde Soje, start dictionary entry, okay? Xingde Soje or Xingda Soje, it's both ways, you see it. Sha giku Xinga Xing, Radatata, Agiku Ite, Sarata Sa Nana Sola Sul, Aum Baya Tanja Demu J. That's the Tibetan spelling. English spelling, SHING, RTA with an optional apostrophe I, SROL, apostrophe BYED. Okay, say Xingda Soje. This is an idiom in Buddhism, and it's a very, very crucial idiom. It's very, very important. And it means any person who comes along between the time of the Buddha and now and makes a huge, major contribution to Buddhism, who makes a breakthrough in the presentation of Buddhism, not the content, right? Why? The person who taught it the first time was omniscient. They saw all things in the universe. They saw that you would pick up this book and start a new presentation. So it's not like they didn't think about it, okay? But throughout history, there have been extraordinary individuals who make a major contribution to how you present it to the next generation. So, in today we'll be playing rock and roll, and that's very appropriate. And 100 years ago, they were banging on cymbals, okay? When I first came to the temple, I came from Princeton. I was in the chapel, with the organ and the choir, The next day I'm in this temple and they're going, bang, 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 and I'm like, oh, couldn't you just play organ music, And every culture, every generation needs a different music. They need a different presentation. They need different clothes. They need a different hairstyle. And it's very crucial that you adjust to we're going to see it later. You have to adjust to your times. You can't, you teach yoga. You teach Buddhism and you're a yoga teacher. But you can't be a college professor and turn on the younger generation who wants to do yoga. So you should manifest as a yoga teacher. It's better, okay? Or you should wear a suit if you have to wear a suit with a tie. And the next day you should wear yoga clothes, and the next day you should wear a robe. And that's appropriate, okay? So, Soje, Xingda Soje means people who come along and make a major new presentation adjustment, okay? Traditionally, there are only two in India, okay? Yes. Yeah, they say Arya Sangha and Arya Nagarjuna, right? Right? You thought it was supposed to be. I don't think so. I think it's Arya. Anyway, for the emptiness teachings, the presentation by Nagarjuna was groundbreaking. And the presentation by a Sangha of the love teachings was groundbreaking. Okay, so they are called groundbreakers or something like that? I sometimes call them innovators, but I think it's more like a groundbreaker. Cutting edge presenter. There have only been two in the history of Buddhism so far, in 2,500 years. Okay? But here, they say, Kangsheng Xingde Soje Songkapa. Groundbreaker from the snowy land. So it's a big compliment. It's like you're the third groundbreaker to come in 2,000. At his time it was 2,000 years. That means how important he is to Buddhism in this world. Okay? And it's not an exaggeration, in my opinion. It's perfectly justified. His innovation in how to present the teachings, he deserves to be considered the third innovator or the third groundbreaker in 2,500 years. He deserves to be called Shingda Suje. Okay, I think. What was his big innovation in the presentation? Ramen. That's what you're studying. Cool. That's cool, right? All right. Shingde Suje Tsongkhapa. Then they go to his main disciple, his right-hand man. And if you're looking at a tanka, he'll be on the right, which is the left. Why? Yeah, you always think of his right, not the person who's standing in front of the painting. You always put yourself in his shoes, and then right or left. So be careful when you translate a book. You might have to reverse it for a Western audience. On Tsongkhapa's left is Gyaltsab. In the Tibetan, on Tsongkhapa's right. Because from inside the painting, it's on the right. Okay, got it? And that's always means the right-hand man, and in Buddhism, in some traditions, right hand means primary. Right-hand man. So, who was Gyaltsab? By the way, Gyaltsab means, his real name was Dharma Rinchen, okay? Dharma Rinchen. And that Dharma is not the Dharma in the Sanskrit Dharma. It's a Tibetan Dharma, and it doesn't mean Dharma. It's just a personal name, okay? It can be related to spreading the teachings, but it's not D-H-A-R, it's D-A-R. But they call him Gyaltsab. Why? Yeah, Gyaltsab means throne holder. After Tsongkhapa passed away, he was the Gyaltsab. Do you remember this scene in the paint? He takes his yellow hat off and throws it like a frisbee to Gyaltsab. And then everybody says, oh, he's passing his lineage on to Gyaltsab. And Gyaltsab is like, caught it. Perfect. And then he passed away shortly after that. So he is the Gyaltsab. You see what I mean? He's not Gyaltsab J, he's the Gyaltsab. J means what? Lord. So sometimes J comes before, sometimes J comes after. Okay? You can say J Tsongkhapa, or you can say Gyaltsab J. He's a Wangchuk. Means Ishvara. Here it means absolute Lord. Like Ishvara makes planets in his spare time. Okay? Like, he can go to, by the way, you deprived me from St. Francis Jazz breakfast today. He'd go to St. Francis Jazz breakfast and take a little piece of the Florentine egg biscuit and make a planet. You know? That's Ishvara. That's how powerful Ishvara is. I don't know why I'm thinking about that. Then he's the Lord of Rigpa. Okay, Ngutop Rigpa. Say Ngutop Rigpa. Extremely rare and difficult expression in the most common prayer ever done in Tibet. The most common grace in Tibet has an impossible word in it that nobody knows what it means. If you ask any Tibetan, they'll say, I don't know what it means. Okay? So, Ngö means Ngöpo. What's Ngöpo? A thing, but more specifically a functioning thing. Something that does something. So a computer is a Ngöpo. A car is a Ngöpo. Okay? A handkerchief is a Ngöpo. A cup is a Ngöpo. Okay? A thing that does something. The Sanskrit is bhava. In a general sense, it can mean anything. Okay? But here it mainly functioning thing. Okay? Since we're late, we might as well be more late. What's the definition of a Ngöpo? Huh? Anything that performs a function. Say Junche, Nipa. Junche, Nipa. Ngöpo. Junche Nipa. Sorry. Junche Nipa. Ngöpo. Okay, good. Like it's like your name in the monastery. If you don't know that, you shouldn't even walk into the debate ground because you're gonna get killed. Okay, it's a frightening place for the debate ground. Okay, Ngutop. So Ngöpo Top. What you know Top from Top Shi, the power or force. Okay, Rigpa means logic. With the S, it means logic. Right. So he was the absolute Lord. He was like the creator God of Ngutop Rigpa, of logic. So the whole thing means Ngutop Rigpa means logic. He was the creator God of all logic, okay? But why do they call logic the power of the thing? Why do they call logic the power of the thing? You see? And that's what you can't find in any book. It's an oral tradition, okay? It's very difficult. Then the classic example is, say, Dengi, Lala, Che, Meyete, Consider a faraway mountain pass over which you see a plume of smoke. Fresh, billowing smoke. Okay. Meiyote. What's that mean? There must be a fire going on there. It's like you drive around Phoenix and you see a huge black cloud. It's like there's a car on fire and something. Okay. Because there's because there's billowing smoke, like huge billows of black smoke. So there must be a fire going on under the smoke. Can you see the fire? Can you deduce the presence of the fire? So that's logic. That's the purpose of logic. Why do Buddhists study logic? Did you have a past life? So you can't see it directly at first, but you can deduce that you had a past life because you came into this life with a certain face. Everybody's proud of their face, or sad about their face, but it wasn't your fault, okay? Those who have a beautiful face, you can't take credit for it, but we do, right? And those who don't have such a beautiful face, don't worry about it. Somebody else made your face, okay? It wasn't you. Why do people have different faces? Duh! Because before the face came out of your mom, the causes were planted by somebody else. Okay, so based on the fact that you have a face, we can say you had a past life. Okay, that's all. It's mutok, that's the power of your face. Get it? The face has the power to allow me to deduce that something happened before. Okay, there's a power in the face. The current face has the power to inform me or to imply that I had a past life. Got it? So logic is sometimes called the power of stuff. The power of things. Because the smoke has a power, what? It allows you to deduce the fire. Okay? If you have the faculties to interpret it correctly, the smoke has the power to allow you to see a fire in your mind's eye. And for spiritual stuff, that's essential. Logic is essential. There's so many spiritual things you can't see with your eyes. You must use nutok. You must use the power of the things which you can see to extrapolate the things you cannot see. And if you can't do that, you'll never be a big practitioner. You'll never get enlightened. Not possible. We need to develop the capacity to deduce things correctly. As a Buddhist, logic is like super sexy. Okay, because if you develop that muscle called reasoning, you can see all kinds of stuff that other people can't see. Okay, because of the power of the things you can see. Got it? Mutoblikpa. Very rare word, very rare idea. Who was the king of that? Gyaltsabje. This is a praise of Gyaltsabje. So Gyaltsabje wrote a commentary to Dhammakirti, Pramanavartika. Very, very famous. Okay. We have winter debates we study that book for 3 months every year for 25 years. Okay. Then we have inter-monastic winter debates. They're called Jangguncha. For 1 month, we debate all day. And many days all night. It's called Sempe Damcha. It means all night long. All night. We debate all night and then we don't sleep and we keep going in all day. Under the sun. And it's cool. You lose your voice about 6 days into it. And everybody's going around. And your hands are bleeding. Your hands split open and then when you go like this, you spray blood in the other guy's face. And it's like awesome. Anyway, at the winter debates, if you go for a month, and these are competitions between the monasteries. Each monastery sends a team of 50 guys. You cover about 5 pages in a month, debating all day and often all night. You cover 5 pages of Gyaltsabje. That's how hard it is. That's how he's a Wangchu. What? He's a god of logic. It takes a month of constant debating to understand the first 5 pages. Okay, very difficult, extremely difficult, and deep, beautiful, sexy. Okay, now. Sorry, we're running over. Say Donga, Tembe, Dapo, Kedubje. So Kedubje is Gyaltsen Khampo's other famous student. So there are three famous guys. They're called Yabse Sum. It means the spiritual father and the two spiritual sons. And together, they are considered the Sokshin of our tradition. The axis, or the main beam, something like that. The crucial beam, something like that. There must be some word in structural, the beam that holds up all the other beams. Yeah, it's the ridge, and then all the other beams are leaning on that big beam. It's the main beam. So they are considered the Sokshin of Gelugpa. You guys are Gelugpas, okay? Sorry. Dalai Lama's lineage. You're the lineage of Dalai Lama's. Gyaltsen Khampo's lineage. So, he's gonna praise Kedubje. Because we are in the middle of a prostration, right? Do and Ngak means what? Yeah, open and secret teachings. Open and secret teachings. Dongak. Demba means the teachings, okay? Dakpo means like you're the owner. Dakpo means like the person who owns a house and rents it to you, or the person who owns a car is the Dakpo, okay? So it contains the word dak, right, which means self. So Dakpo means like, I don't know how you say that in English. Like a good football player, so he owns the football field. You see what I mean? Like, nobody can stop him. He can run anywhere on the field he wants, because he owns it. You know, he like owns the field. He owns the game, you know. So he's like Dakpo. He owns all the sutras and tantras. So Kedubje had an extraordinary ability to, he wrote extraordinary commentaries on the open teachings, but he also wrote extraordinary teachings on the secret teachings, especially Kala Chakra. Okay, he was a great Kala Chakra teacher. Okay, so he's called, he owns the open and secret teachings. Okay. By the way, Kedubje also wrote a logic text which ain't too shabby. And I think it's more appropriate for Westerners. It's easier than Gyaltsabje's. You don't have to spend a month on the first 5 pages. You can read it and get a very good overview of logic. You know, so I think we should try to translate that. I think his book is more helpful than Gyaltsabje's for most people. Gyaltsabje's is like an acid trip. And, you know, I read somewhere that, what's his name? Edgar Allan Poe always drank some wine before he wrote. And, to read Gyaltsabje, you have to be in an altered state of mind. You have to drink some wine or beer or something. You have to be in an altered state of consciousness to read Gyaltsabje. But Kedubje, you can sit down and read like a book. And you can study it. So I think that'd be useful for Westerners. I'm kind of picking books like that for Westerners. Okay, last thing. Yabse Gyuparche La Chaksalo. Yabse means the father and his two spiritual sons. Gyuparche means, we studied Che the other day. Tang Chepa. Along with. Okay? So he's bowing down to the father, to the two sons, and the Gyu, the lineage, along with all the teachers who have come down from them, of whom you are the most recent. Of whom you are the latest ones. Okay? As of today. Okay? You are the latest ones. You are at the end of that lineage. Okay? Okay. Chaktelo, I bow down to you. Okay? I bow down to you. Chaktelo. If you want to do it as a grace, and then I promise we'll stop, okay? If you want to do it as a grace, here's the proper fourth line. Okay? Kyawa yabse sumla chapapo. Kyawa yabse sumla chapapo. Kyawa yabse sumla chapapo. Got it? You change the fourth line. Then it means I offer you my hamburger, or I offer you my scrambled eggs, whatever it is. Okay? And it is the most famous grace in our lineage. So you should learn it. You should do it. Even in English, you can do it in English. You can change the last line to, you would change the opening lines in English. You would say, I make this offering to the victor, father and sons, the three victors, you can say. I make this offering to the three victors, the father and his son. The father and his son. Okay? And then that becomes a grace. And you should learn it. It's the most famous grace there is. And you shouldn't eat food without offering it. Okay? You should not eat food without offering it first. You should offer it first. Sun, meaning three. S-U-M. Sun la shapapu. Sun la means to the three. L-A. S-U-M? L-A. Sumla Shipaku. Okay. Good? Got it? Okay. All right. It's time to rock and roll. Nicole, you want to do? Okay, cool. We taught 10,000 people last year in DC. I think it's around 10,000 people. And we have to teach them general things because we don't see them for very long and we don't know them very well and they're often not Buddhist people. But 4 times a year I get to do deep stuff and to the people who are most serious. So you are the cream of those 10,000 people, okay? And it's a pleasure to teach you, and it's a pleasure to see your dedication. Keep going, okay? So you can be the next player, because you're the ones who have to hold it, okay? Those guys are going to go make money or have a baby with this stuff, which is fine. You should also do that, but then you're going to go deeper also. Okay? So you are the cream, and I have a lot of hope in you, and I hope you work